Hi, this is Mr. Mullaney. Welcome to our recap of yesterday's World War I lesson, A New Kind of Conflict. Let me preface this by saying, yes, I get it. This looks terrible. I look like some sort of really white ghost. It's 7:30 in the morning. I'm in middle school, room 309. It's a great room. I teach out of it. I enjoy using it, but I cannot get the lighting right today. It is what it is. We're just going to make it happen. So objectives to this lesson. Early events in the war, battles, strategies, outcomes, and different technologies introduced during this war. This is the first war of full-out industrialization, and this is the war where you have the full effect of industrialization on warfare. So the warm-up yesterday was, how do European nations get drawn into this conflict? Because of all four of these countries, none of them is Austria or Serbia where it begins. For two of them, it's two words. For Germany, it's blank check. They said to Austria-Hungary, you wind up in a war with Austria, you have a blank check of support from us. For Britain, it's two more words, Schlieffen Plan. They had an agreement with Belgium that they would defend Belgium. Germany invaded Belgium according to the terms of the Schlieffen Plan, their initial strategy, and then Britain joins in. For Russia and France, it's a little bit more complicated. For Russia, you have the fact that they're concerned about anything that goes on in the Balkan Peninsula. They are typically united with the Slavic people. They are concerned about their access to the Dardanelles. They are concerned about Germany. And they also are concerned about asserting themselves, not being a joke. They lost the Russo-Japanese War in 1905. That was humiliating. They were unable to prevent Austria's annexation of Bosnia. And so they needed to reestablish themselves as serious players in the international game. For France, it's really just a combination of all your main causes of the war: militarism, alliances, imperialism, nationalism. They were very concerned about Germany. They see Germany mobilizing. They're allied with Russia, and so they get drawn into the conflict. The Western Front. This is the beginnings of the Western Front. Really starts at the Marne. The Marne is where the German advance, the initial German advance, is stopped, and you get a stalemate. You get trench warfare. I have a great video in the links from the Great War about trench warfare. And you get what's called no man's land. It's between the two trenches. So each side digs in, literally digs in, builds a trench, and it's just a stalemate. They're fighting over very little amounts of territory. We watched a brief video clip about what it actually looked like. This was from a movie. We had a quote from a poem. There were vast stretches of mud, of fields once cultivated, but now scarred with pits, trenches, rusty barbed wires. The roads were rivers of clay. They were lined with dugouts, cellars, and caves. These burrows in the earth were supported by beams and suggested a shaft in a disused mine. That was by Richard Davis, and that's a poem about what was going on. The war in Europe, you start having your battles. This, by the way, Ypres. That's how you pronounce that, Ypres. Can you believe that? Yeah, I wouldn't have gotten it either. Anyway, you have your trenches established. At the Battle of the Marne, the initial German advance is stopped. And then by the Second Battle of Ypres in spring 1915, you get chlorine gas. And again, I have a link in the description from the Great War about gas warfare. All right, the Battle of the Somme, which we're going to learn about today. 1 million died, and that really 500,000 died at Verdun. You start to get, just people are horrified with what's going on. By the way, the race to the sea, the trenches. The two sides try to outflank each other. They can't, and they wind up going all the way to the sea here and then all the way to Switzerland, which was not involved, and so they stopped at Switzerland. That's where the two trench lines ran. Pretty crazy stuff. Technology. This is your Industrial Revolution piece. The automatic machine gun, which just mows down soldiers trying to take the other side's trench. You get chlorine gas, which is one of the gases that's used. It was deadly. But however, gas mask worked against it, so they had to come up with something stronger. I wonder what that will be. The Great War gas video will tell us. Armored tanks, the British, you needed something because horses weren't going to make their way through these trenches and through all this barbed wire. And so tanks were the innovation that were used for that. Aircraft in this war are kind of an accessory, used for observation, some limited bombing. And then you'd actually put the gun on there and shoot down things and shoot at things. Aircraft becomes a major component in World War II. And then U-boats, the Untersee boats, the submarines underneath the sea to damage merchant ships, Allies have to organize convoys to protect merchant ships, and I wonder if this might be how the United States winds up getting involved. Notice we haven't talked about the United States yet. Close your question. You want to think about how these new technologies, the technologies of industrialization, impacted World War I. That's our lesson recap. Thank you for watching.